Jakey, I can't believe you personally colonized all those people.
Me personally?
Yeah,
Yes.
you specifically personally
Oh,
colonized all
sorry.
of them.
I'd like to issue an apology to India, to Pakistan,
You can't name the entire world in one
to,
in this.
to Bangladesh, to Sri Lanka, to Myanmar / Burma. I'd like to issue an apology to Malaysia, to Singapore,
Where's
to the Republic of
ukulele?
Ireland,
No,
There
get the
we
kazoo
go.
out. We need
to
the kazoo.
to the Welsh, to the Scots, to the English as well. I'd like to issue an apology to all the Irish people that aren't in the Republic of Ireland. I'd like to issue an apology to Australia, to New Zealand, to Tuvalu, to Palau, to Nauru, to Fiji, to Singapore, to some parts of Indonesia, but not all of it. To China and Hong Kong at one point. I'd like to issue an apology for the Russian northern regions that we briefly occupied. I'd like to apologize to the 13 colonies. I'd like to give an apology to the Hudson Bay Company and then Canada in general. I'd like to give an apology to Jamaica. I'd like to give an apology to St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, Guyana. I'd like to give an apology to Egypt, to Sudan, to South Sudan, South Africa, Namibia, Uganda, Kenya, parts of Somalia. I'd like to issue an apology to Palestine and Israel. I'd like to issue an apology to Oman and Yemen, and the UAE and Qatar and Bahrain, and Iraq, and Kuwait, and Jordan. Apologies to Afghanistan. Apologies to Belgium. Apologies to Denmark for blowing up Copenhagen so many times. Apologies to Iceland for making a rubbish airport so the Americans had to make a better one. Apologies to Greenland for that brief moment in time where we had a claim on you. Apologies to Norway for blowing up Copenhagen when you were part of Denmark. Apologies to Sweden for not letting IKEA in sooner.
I feel like we're really running out of gas here.
Apologies to Poland for letting Germany invade that one time. Apologies to Germany.
That one time.
Apologies to Germany for making you significantly smaller than you were, and then occupying you, and then making you the biggest economy in Europe. Apologies to not the French. Apologies to
French don't deserve it.
No. Apologies to Austria for occupying you and destroying your empire. Apologies to Libya for occupying half your country. Apologies to Nigeria for splitting your country into for like 100 years. Apologies to Benin and Togo for just your existence. Apologies for Gambia for never being part of Senegal. Apologies to Italy for taking half your country at one point. Apologies to Luxembourg for letting Belgium take part of your country. Apologies for Belarus, because now you exist. Apologies to Ukraine, because we didn't sort out the Chernobyl, that was clearly our fault. Apologies to Moldova for being separated from Romania. Apologies to Romania for messing up Dracula's name. Apologies to Serbia for bombing you when you were trying to invade Bosnia, and also not recognizing that you made Dracula. Apologies to Kosovo for bombing your neighbor, I guess.
You were in the nearby vicinity.
Apologies to Bosnia for being so divided, partly because of bombing your neighbor. Apologies to Czechia and Slovakia, because we kind of encouraged you to break up into separate states, self-determination. Apologies to Switzerland for them being so neutral. Apologies for Liechtenstein for just being created. Apologies for Monaco for having too many rich people. Apologies to the Vatican because we didn't do something with Christianity at one point in time. Apologies to Malta for not incorporating you into the United Kingdom.
At some point he'll say and then that will be the last one.
Apologies to Cyprus for being divided for so long and also still having military bases there. Apologies to Spain for having Gibraltar. Apologies to Portugal for having such a long alliance with us. That's our fault. Who else do I need to apologize to? Apologies to Venezuela for not saying anything when America invaded you. Apologies.
That one was recent.
Apologies to Colombia for not supporting Gran Colombia enough.
Gran Colombia? Sorry.
Apologies to Ecuador for Charles Darwin going to the Galapagos. Apologies to Belize for you having a terrible border with Mexico.
Is that your fault?
Apologies
Switzerland being neutral, their fault.
To French Guiana for being part of France. We clearly should have liberated you.
Yeah, because the English would have been much better.
Well, at least then they could have an uprising and be independent. Like,
apologies for Suriname for being part of the Dutch. Apologies to the rest of. Apologies to the rest of Indonesia for also being part of the Dutch.
Apologies to JKG. I accidentally stripped a log on the big tree.
Apologies to Brazil, because you had so much. Because we sent the kid of Portugal to live in Brazil, and that kind of broke down the Portuguese Empire a little bit. Apologies to Argentina for having the Falklands. Apologies for Chile for having such a long body. Apologies to Peru for you having kind of a really boring flag. We should have given you a better one. Apologies to...
You would have just slapped the Union Jack on it. That doesn't make it better.
Apologies to Bolivia for being landlocked because of Chile. We clearly should have not made that happen. Apologies to Paraguay for having a stupid name. Apologies to Uruguay for having a nearly as stupid name as Paraguay.
At this point, you're just insulting.
Apologies to Paraguay because you're also landlocked. We clearly should have bullied Argentina more. Apologies to Uruguay because you have a weird sun face in your flag and it kind of creeps me out. Apologies to Micronesia for having so many little islands. Apologies to the Maldives for not going to exist in 70 years.
Dude, this might be a 20-minute recording that I can make.
Apologies to Kiribati, sorry. Sorry for that. Sorry, I mispronounced it and everyone else does. Yeah, that's it.
I was gonna say, what?
Apologies to the Solomon Islands.
Oh, okay, I thought you meant that's it, as in you're done.
No.
Oh, no. We're only about halfway. We still got most of Africa to do.
So so how do I edit this? Do I just like put them in throughout the?
No, you just overlap all of like every single one over the top of each other.
Of course. So when's my apology gonna get in there?
We'll get there. We're getting to it.
Do I name this like JKG apologize to everyone but MC fan?
Yeah, this is a complete separate video. JKG apologizes to every country.
So anyway, back to the list. Apologies to Solomon Islands. We should have given you more islands. Clearly, we did not give you. Apologies to Puerto Rico for being stuck with the US for so long.
Real.
Apologies to Cuba for being communist. Apologies to China for Taiwan's existence. Apologies to Taiwan for China's existence.
How's this your fault?
They let it happen.
Apologies to North Korea because you don't have South Korea. Apologies to South Korea because you don't have North Korea. Apologies to Japan for being good allies for like 100 years. You should not have dealt with us for that long. Also, sorry for making the nuclear bomb, mostly. Who have I missed? The Baltic states. Sorry to Estonia for being so digitalized. You should have more paper forms. Sorry to Latvia for having the biggest decrease in population in Europe. Kind of sad. Sorry to Lithuania for being stuck next to Russia and its exclave. Sorry to Poland. Oh no, we already did Poland. Sorry to Hungary for having terrible leaders over and over and over again. We clearly should have fixed that the first time. Sorry to Slovenia for being part of Yugoslavia. Sorry to Croatia for stealing all of Bosnia's coastline. We should have given you the whole coastline of the EU. Sorry to Montenegro for being tired all the time. We should wake you up with more coffee. We could offer you tea. Sorry to Albania, because we didn't recognize Kosovo faster. Sorry to Greece for us letting you join the EU so fast and for being in debt. Sorry to Turkey for letting Greece have all of your islands. Sorry to Syria for you being part of France. Again, that's clearly a loss on our part. Sorry to Kurdistan because you don't exist. We should make you exist. Who else? Sorry to Georgia
All the
for
standstill.
I'm getting to the stands. We've only done Afghanistan and Pakistan. I'm aware of the others. Sorry to Georgia for Astros interrupting you. Just your apology now be cut short.
Sorry,
Apology-
can I just interrupt for a second?
Yeah.
Because I've been scrolling Instagram for like 2 minutes, and I thought by now it would be over. So can I ask, like, what's the ETA on this?
Oh, we still got most of Africa to do.
So that's not an ETA. I need a
I'm
number, sir.
I'm gonna make a parkour course for the video.
Yep, sure. Just overlay it. Hold on, give it another 2 minutes, see where we're at. I'll try and speed up. Sorry to Armenia for being neighbors with Azerbaijan. Sorry to Azerbaijan for being neighbors with Armenia. Sorry to Iran for having bad relations with the US for so many years. We should have fixed that. Sorry to Saudi Arabia for not being Islam. Sorry to Kazakhstan for Borat. Sorry to Uzbekistan for having the most uninteresting relations with any country on the planet. Sorry to Kyrgyzstan for having a name I can't spell. We should have found a different spelling. Sorry to Tajikistan for having to have such a funky border. We should have fixed it. Sorry to Turkmenistan for being so separated from the rest of the world. Despite the fact you wasted $500 billion on an airport or something like that. I think that's... sorry to Mongolia for not having a largest empire anymore. Sorry to El Salvador for having all to deal with all the American deportees coming in. Sorry to Honduras for having to fight that one football war, I believe. We shouldn't have invented football. We are sorry to Guatemala for your name sounding too much like guacamole. Sorry to Panama for having a canal in you. That's clearly our fault. I think that's most of Central America. I'm sorry to anyone in Central America I've forgotten. Sorry, I just can't remember your country off the top of my head. Right. I'm sorry to San Marino for having such a long-lasting republic. Clearly, we should have done something to interrupt that. I'm sorry to the Vatican for... Oh, no, I already did the Vatican. Sorry to Andorra for being stuck next to France. Sorry to Bulgaria for nearly forgetting you. Sorry to North Macedonia that you've had to deal with Bulgaria for so long, I guess. And then the fact they keep wanting to take you. Okay, let's bite the bullet. We need to get on with Africa. Sorry, Morocco, for having to deal with Western Sahara and not being fully part of Spain. Sorry to Guinea for having a very similar name to like 15 other countries. Sorry to Papua New Guinea for having a new country being created in 2027. Sorry to Equatorial Guinea for having the most uninteresting stuff. Sorry to Ivory Coast or for having the same flag as Ireland, but just in the reverse. Sorry to Senegal for Gambia. Sorry to Sierra Leone for having a name I really can't pronounce very well. Sorry to Liberia for being stuck with America and not being colonized. Sorry to Ethiopia for getting invaded by Italy, but then getting no perks from Italy. Sorry to Chad for having the best name out of any country ever made. Sorry
they
to
should annex people and become Giga Chad. That needs to happen.
sorry to Burkina Faso for having such a divided government. Sorry to Haiti for looking like it's gone through the Godzilla film without Godzilla arriving. Sorry to the Dominican Republic for having a similar name to just the Dominican and vice versa. Sorry, Dominican, for having a similar name to the Dominican Republic. Apologies to Niger for having such a similar name to Nigeria. I'm sorry to Tunisia because your flag is way too similar to Turkey's. We need to give you a different flag. I'm sorry to Algeria because you were stuck with France for so long. Sorry to Mali because you've got a big swath of desert that wants to break away. We need to clearly fix that. Sorry to the Republic of Congo for getting mixed up with the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Democratic Republic of the Congo, we are sorry because of Belgium. Angola, we're sorry that you were communist and also had to do with Portugal. Clearly, we should have fixed that. Sorry to Madagascar for the French. Sorry to the Seychelles for having the best flag ever. Sorry to Mauritius for getting mixed up with Mauritania in my mind all the time. Sorry to Mauritania for getting you mixed up with Mauritius. Sorry to Eritrea for being labeled as the North Korea of Africa. Clearly, we should label you as best Korea in Africa. Sorry to Zimbabwe because I think they have an AK-47 on their flag, and that's kind of cool. I can't lie, but also I'm sorry. Sorry to Eswatini because of Trump and forgetting that you exist apparently. Yes, sorry to Scott Major, who just appeared live. I follow you on Twitch. And finally, sorry to MC Fan for putting a chicken machine in your house.
Wow. That's so kind of you. My mic was muted the entire time because I didn't want to interrupt you. But yeah, no, it's really kind of you.